I hope you can hear me. Leave a comment if you can hear me. Let me see if I can bring the comments up. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, good. Good. Let me put on my glasses so that I can read the comments as they come up. So, because I can't see without them. How has your weekend been? Mine has been pretty good, actually, pretty good. My daughter came down from Bellingham, and our youngest daughter left and went to Amsterdam yesterday, and I was green with envy, you know. She's got the travel bug, and she, you know, plans it and pulls the trigger and goes, and I'm always like, oh, I've got too much to do. I can't. So anyway, but so I've got some things to share with you today, and to be honest, I was kind of getting them put together this morning. Well, some of it this morning. I thought that I could be faster than I was, but anyway, we will work on the fly because that's what we do. So, what time is it in your neck of the woods? It's 11 here. This is my coffee. You're in the, hi, Diana. You got better weather. It's kind of sunny here today too. Yesterday it was dreary and gray. But today it's a little nicer, so which is good. And so today I'm going to show you some like mixed media stuff using some of our March kit stuff. It's 12 in Mexico. You have warm weather. 117. Hi, Shanners. All over the world. That's so cool. I love that I can like connect with people everywhere. So that's super fun. We just finished shipping all of the March kits. So if you should have received your shipping notification, you know, you never look at yourself while you speak. So first of all, hi, Sarah. Oh my gosh, it's been forever since I've chatted with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 7 o'clock in the evening. Are your kids in bed? Actually, Diana, I think your kids are older like mine are. Well, maybe not as old as mine. But yeah, yesterday I went to IKEA with my daughters, and I had I had knee surgery about a month ago, and I'm still recovering from it. I have to be kind of careful with walking long distances and stuff. And so yesterday we went to IKEA. They're 17 and 19, so still teenagers. I kind of miss it when my kids were a little bit younger. Now they're like, Mom. So yeah, I apparently have no boundaries and I get in their business too much. So I always want to be in the know. You know, they turn into adults. Hi, Rose. Thanks for joining. It's good to see you. Oh my God, I had a nightmare last night. So I had a nightmare that I had my live in the morning, and I got up and my husband looked at me. He's like, did you know that your front tooth broke? And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden I put my hand up to my mouth and I'm like, oh my God, like half of one of my front teeth broke. And I'm like, I have to do a live today. How am I going to do that? Must have had some anxiety about this. I'm not very good on camera, so I totally apologize for all of my uhs and ums and, you know, things. Yeah, so I have a little camera fright. And I'm hoping over time it's going to get a little better, but I always feel like I'm so awkward, which is probably the case for everybody. Like when I look at my camera, I have no idea where to look. Like, do I talk to myself? Do I look over here? I don't know. So, yeah, so March kits have shipped. and I'm super excited about that. And they're so cool. You aren't a member of our Facebook group, um, just head over and join. It's super fun. There's lots of activities. People share projects and ideas, and our design team is over there. They're sharing their projects that they create with our kits. And we have 2 challenges every single month, a mood board challenge and a sketch challenge. And all you have to do, everybody's welcome to join. You don't have to use HipKit products in your projects. You just use the prompt that is in our Facebook group. There's a thread there. Create your layout based upon the guidelines in the prompt and upload and share your project in that thread during the month. I believe that the deadline is March 31st at like 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Pacific Standard Time. Anyway, all the details are there. And at the end of the month, we choose a winner for each one of our challenges, and they receive a $25 gift certificate to our shop. So you can try our kits if you're not a subscriber. You can order, they're great for ordering add-ons to try something new. You know, if you just get our main kit every month, good grief, choking myself. My Sunday uniform is usually a hoodie and sweats, so yeah, or a sweatshirt of some sort, because generally on Sundays I don't leave the house. So anyway, join our Facebook group and jump in our challenges. Jump in, introduce yourself. It's a great way to connect with other people. It's a great way to connect with our designers. You know, we love to see what everybody is creating, and regardless of whether it's with our kits or not, we just like to get to know everybody and welcome everybody. So we'd love for you to join if you're not already a subscriber. And we're going to have some really super fun stuff coming up for National Scrapbooking Day, or weekend, International Scrapbooking Day, coming up the first week of May. So if you aren't already a member of our Facebook group, you're going to want to be sure to join so that you get notified of all of the details for our event. So we're going to do some really cool things. Hi, Yessie. So be sure to follow us on Instagram. You know, we've got fresh inspiration. If you're looking for something quick, we've got reels that we share several times a week, you know, and they're under 2 minutes. So you can watch something, get some inspiration for your next project. You know, you can see what our design team is up to, what our kits look like, the things that you can create with our kits. It's a great way to find quick inspiration. And then for something a little more detailed, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post new process videos daily, and it's a great way to learn new techniques or find a new way to use a product that you use over and over the same way. You know, it's a great way to try something new. And we welcome and encourage you guys to scrap lift our stuff. Check out our March dies. This is our paintbrush die, and it comes with the handle, a couple of dies that make up the bristles, and the metal piece that attaches the bristles to the handle. And you also get this super cool faux brush stroke. It also works alongside with the clear stamps that came in our March color kit, and they're designed so that the width of the brush fits the width of the paint stroke. So you can use the dies alone, or you can combine them with the stamp set and get a completely different look. And I've got an idea to show you in a little bit. This is our GeoHex die, and it came out in January of 2023. And dies
work great with mixed media. In fact, this one is cut out of heavy white cardstock and it could easily be turned into a stencil. All you have to do is cut a couple of them out and glue them together with some liquid glue. That way you've got enough dimension uh, so that if you used it with texture paste, you'd get a lot of height with your texture paste. You could also use it with ink blending. This one also came out in March and is brand new, and it's our star texture die. It's a background die, and it's really, really pretty. And it's got this like tiny cluster of stars. It almost looks like a lace in a way because it's so dainty. And if you look at all of the detail that you get with this die, I mean, look how dainty those stars are. You simply can't get this kind of detail with a cut file and your silhouette or Cricut. The only way to get this kind of detail is with a die. And so although you'd think that they're quite similar, they work very differently. Now, this one, my die slipped off of the paper when I was feeding the plates through my die cutting machine, but I'm just pulling off those extra pieces and you're good to go. Even your miscuts can be used. The other super cool thing about this die is that you end up with a bunch of tiny little stars after you cut your die out. And, you know, if you were to use this die and cut it out using our cardstock add-on kit, you'd end up with all of these tiny little stars in a variety of different colors that coordinate perfectly with the products in your kits. And the other thing too is that oftentimes our colors are reused in future kits. So, you know, if you use the color kit and cut out a bunch of stars or had a bunch of stars left over, you could use them on future projects. You can use them as filler for your shaker pockets, or you could even add a little bit of glossy accents to the top of them, and you'd have some little shaped enamel embellishments to uh, use on your page. Now, these are pattern papers and some cardstock that I've added gesso to, and I just wanted to show you some ideas in using gesso and adding mixed media to your projects. Now, this paper is one of the florals that were included in our March kit, and I've added white gesso to the center of it, and that creates a somewhat of a white canvas for you to build your page on. And it allows you to layer a bunch of stuff on top of it without it getting lost on your background. So, like, if you took this paper the way that it is and you started layering your photo and a bunch of embellishments onto the top of it, you see how everything kind of gets lost because there's so much going on. Your eye doesn't know where to focus, and it kind of looks like a hot mess. But if you were to layer a sheet of white cardstock and leave the floral border, that would totally work. And using white gesso in the center of this paper kind of works the same way in more of kind of but it gives it more of an organic feel. Now, you see how all of the embellishments kind of pop off the page. So to do this, I use your basic white gesso. This one's from Hobby Lobby. It's inexpensive. It's a giant jar and it lasts forever. And I just take this silicone brush. This one's from Nuvo, but you could get something similar from Amazon. Um, and possibly if you look in the kitchen section, kitchen supplies and gadgets, you might be able to find a really cheap one. And if you want something like this from Nuvo, you can check out scrapbook.com and Simon Says Stamp, and you can find one, find one of the Nuvo ones there, or something very similar. Now, what I've done is I've taken some white gesso and I'm increasing the white space on this paper. And I've just added the gesso to it, and I'm lightly rubbing my fingers in a circular pattern to feather that gesso out toward the outer edge of my paper. And you want to be kind of light-handed here, because if you're too heavy-handed, you're going to rub the surface of your paper off and kind of ruin your paper. So just be softly, move your fingers in a circular motion and blend it, and you'll get kind of that hazy, cloudy edge there, where you go from more of an opaque coverage to something that's a little more translucent as you move toward that outer edge. So I love the way that it ends up looking, and you can use it just like this with the white gesso. I'm going to add some color to this, but I need to let it dry. Now, this paper has a very subtle background, and it could easily be used for a mixed media background, but I wanted to keep the grid pattern, so I added clear gesso to this one, and it does the same thing. It protects your paper from the water and mixed media, and it keeps the mixed media from sinking or from soaking into your paper. I've also added some white gesso to a couple sheets of white American Crafts textured cardstock, and I've grabbed a sheet of smooth, I believe that this is marshmallow cardstock from Basil, and it's a very heavyweight cardstock, and it works really well with mixed media. So this one doesn't have any gesso on it. And so we're going to compare how the different mixed media products work on a cardstock coated with gesso and one that doesn't have any gesso on it. And we're going to use the stamp, our March color kit stamps to do this. Now, these stamps are brand new and I haven't used them before. And you'll notice that they have kind of a shiny finish, and they're kind of sticky. And so you need to season your stamps before you use them to have the ink be able to sit on the surface of the stamp properly. And so I'm just using a white eraser. It's just a block eraser, and I'm rubbing the surface of the eraser on the surface of the stamp where the ink, where you'll add the ink when you use it. And if you notice, you'll see that the shiny finish on the stamp disappears, and you get more of a matte look. This allows the ink to sit on the surface of the stamp, so when you stamp your image, you're going to get a nice, evenly inked stamp. And usually I'll rinse that off with under the tap, but for this purpose, I just cleaned it off with a paper towel, and that worked just fine. So here I've added some Catherine Pooler Sweet 16 ink, and I'm using this gadget that I use with my Misty to make sure that I apply equal pressure across my stamps when I stamp them. And I thought maybe it would work the same with an acrylic block, but I think it's more trouble than it's worth, honestly. So I'll just stick with it for my to use with my Misty. With my Misty, it's great. This, not so much. So now I'm adding another ink color to the paper that doesn't have any gesso on it. This one is called Be Mine, and it's another Catherine Puller ink. And if you notice each at the left and the right end of that stamp, the edges are different. And so every time I stamp this, I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. So you get a variation in the shape of the edge as you add these paint strokes uh, down the paper or the cardstock. And that one didn't stamp as well, so I added another layer. That's a stamp chamois, and I use it to clean my stamps. And it doesn't leave any lint or anything behind like you would get from a baby wipe or a paper towel. I love that thing. Okay, so let's add another color of ink. This one is Tiki Torch, and it's an orange ink pad from Catherine Puller. All of these are Catherine Puller inks, and they've all been in previous color kits. I think many of them are sold out, but this kind of shows that if you get our color kit every month, you really start to accumulate um, a nice array of supplies to be able to do mixed media or to add mixed media and do mixed media projects. So that one is called Catching Rays, and it's a really pretty yellow. And if you look closely, you'll see that the paint strokes on the right-hand side on the gesso cardstock, you can see how they kind of are blending a little bit, even though we've done nothing to it. It's because the ink is sitting on top of the gesso and it's not soaking into the cardstock. The other one, the ink is soaking into the cardstock. And this one is called Lime Ricky, and we'll be using it in one of our summer color kits. So you can stay tuned for that. And this one's called It's a Boy. And these are all the colors that you're going to find in our March kits. So none of them are pastel. They're all vibrant, but they're not bold. So they're really easy to work with. Now I'm adding a little bit of water using some mist from my spray bottle and also some water with my paintbrush. And I'm tilting that cardstock up and I'm just letting the color run from the top to the bottom of my page. And you see how the colors mix and blend. And that's because everything, all that ink is sitting on top of the paper and it hasn't soaked in. Whereas on the left-hand side, the cardstock that has no gesso on it, you see how that pigment doesn't move with your paintbrush. You might get a tiny bit of bleeding, but it's not going to move in the same way that it does when you stamp onto the paper with the gesso on it. Now the Catherine Puller inks are water reactive and they work very similarly to the Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks. So when you sprinkle water over the top of it and you blot that up with a paper towel, you'll see how you get these light spots, which is a really cool effect. Now this is that texture dye, our star texture dye. Look how cool that looks over the top of that. And you could easily use your dye and layer it over this stamped background and run it through your die cut machine, and that would be a really cool look as well. So if you don't have a ton of ink pads, but you've got other mixed media products in your stash, you can easily use those with these stamps, because the images don't have to be pristine like they would if it was a word or a flower or something like that. These are meant as to be used along with mixed media to give you that mixed media look, but more in a controlled way. So this allows you to kind of know what the end result is going to be, rather than taking a brush and spreading ink or paint or whatever across your paper. So I'm using some shimmers, mists here, and I've added a little bit of water to that one after I dipped it in the mist on my glass mat. And this time I'm going to use it without extra water. And it looks great. Love the way that turned out. You know, you've got a block of color. It looks like a paint stroke. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it has a different look than if you would use it with ink. But that's the cool thing about these. So this one is, I believe it's Shimmers, and this one is a Shimmers Vibes, and it's called Jenny B. Blue. And it's a pretty turquoise. And then I believe that this one is called Sweetheart, and it's a colorings. And the colorings don't have any shimmer to them. They're just flat color. But you see how these really don't blend a whole lot. The bleeding that you're seeing is from the mist that hasn't dried yet. That liquid that's on the still wet on that paper. Whereas when you use these on a sheet of cardstock that has gesso on it, all that liquid stays on the surface of the paper. It doesn't soak in. And so you'll see how everything blends a lot easier. Well, it blends, period. The other way, it really doesn't. You just won't get that same effect. Now, I'm adding the Jenny B. Blue underneath. And had I have thought this through a little bit more clearly, I would have applied the Sweetheart and the I believe it's called Chickadee. I would have done the pink and the yellow first, and I would have dried it with a heat gun or a heat tool, and then I would have added more yellow and added the blue. And then the blue and the yellow, you would have gotten the green tones, and the red and the greenish colors wouldn't mix, so you wouldn't have that muddy color in the middle. So keep in mind that if you dry it in between and you add colors that don't like one another, like red and green, if you dry it ahead of time, those colors won't mix. So you see when I use a brush, that color just moves around on the surface of your paper. Now, if I were to do this generally, I would use a round brush because round brushes pick up the pigment and the water better than a flat brush does. But I lent all of my round brushes to my daughter and she never gave them back. And I didn't realize that until right before I was doing this. So I'll be ordering some more on Amazon this week so that I have them. But I'm adding a little more color. I'm going to tilt my paper back and forth and rotate it and just let that color mix around. We'll let it dry, and I'll show it to you in a bit after it dries. But I also want to add some splatters, so let me do that first. Added a little bit more water to the mists over there and just use this tiny brush to pick up some of that color. And I'm tapping my brush with my finger and I'm just getting these fine little splatters. Now, I usually use a bigger brush when I'm doing splatters because I like to get some larger droplets as well. But if you're afraid to do splatters, our January color kit has a set of stamps that has a couple of different splatter patterns that you can use. And then you know exactly where your splatters are going and what they look like. So clean up this ink off of my glass mat. And now here I'm going to show you my idea in how to combine the stamps with our brush die set. Now, if I had thought this out and planned it out a little bit better, I would have spaced those brush strokes differently, but you kind of get the idea. So you can layer each one of the brushes on top of one of the brush strokes, and it gives the illusion that the brush painted the stroke. Now, you could use these just the way that they are, leave them white, or you could even cut them out of our cardstock in our cardstock add-on kit and create kind of a monochromatic look by having maybe the brush handle cut out of the lighter color and then the bristles cut out of the darker color, because you'll have like a lighter blue and a darker blue all in that same color family. And I think I would cut out multiple bristles and then layer them together, and then you would kind of get more texture and dimension with each brush. And then you could take the little pieces that make up that metal bracket that goes across the lower part of the handle, and you could heat emboss those with silver embossing powder, and then you have kind of a realistic paintbrush. If you had like a wood grain stencil or a wood grain background stamp, you could stamp that on the handle of your brush, and then your brush would look a little bit more realistic. But I'm all good with having it, either be cardstock, and you could even cut these out of pattern paper as well. There's lots of ways that they could be used. And if you wanted to, you could run your design horizontally with the brushes as well. So I'll have to do a finished project using those so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, my gesso on this cardstock or on this pattern paper is dry, and I'm adding a little bit of water, and I'm going to add a bunch of different mixed media products to this. This is Pretty in Pink shimmers, I think, and I'm adding a little bit of the Chickadee Spritz. But the cool thing about gesso is that if you change your mind and you want to use different colors and it hasn't dried yet, you can mop it up with, or blot it up with a paper towel and try something else. So here I'm going to add a little bit of the blue. I think that this one might be Snowy Man, and then I'll add a little bit of the yellow. And I was thinking that maybe the blue and the yellow and the green could be kind of fun, but I'm not sure. I'm thinking that it really does need the pink and the yellow and that orange. I think that that'll look better. So here I've added some of the Be Mine Catherine Pooler ink, and I've added a little bit of water to it, and I'm going to turn my paper around a bit and tilt it and just move some of that pigment around the surface of my paper. Now this is, It's a Girl, and that's a Catherine Pooler ink, and that's a soft pink. Now there's like a cat hair that's stuck to my page. It's making me crazy. Gotta see if I can get that up, but see how everything blends so nicely with that gesso? Ah, there's that cat hair. It's gonna make me crazy. See if I can move that around a little bit. So here I'm going to use my heat tool and dry this. And if you alternate drying from the bottom of your paper to on top, that helps reduce the warping that you get. And you're going to have a little bit regardless, but once you finish your mixed media and you get everything dried, if you stick it under like a heavy book, it'll flatten out. So here I've got some creamies, and I think that this one is called Beats Me, and it's a pretty pink. Now these come in dry paint pots, and you need to add a little bit of water to them and let them sit for a few minutes to let that pigment loosen up so that you can use it. So now I'm going to stir this up a little bit. And this is creamies, and so these are also made by Shimmers, and this doesn't really have any shimmer to it. It's more of a flat color. And I've just added a bunch of water, and I'm letting it blend. And the thing about drying that first layer of color is that it allows you to get some depth of color on your background rather than have everything just continue to blend together. You know, you're going to get some darker areas and some lighter areas, some areas that are going to be more saturated, and you're going to have areas where you're going to see some of this, you know, more pinky pink. And so all of the different colors are going to kind of show through. Now, when I use my brush, I just basically use it to wet the paper and allow the color to move, because the paint and the color won't move onto any dry areas unless there's a ton of it, and then it will move in the form of a drip. But if you want it to move as an entire kind of body of water, you need to add some You need to wet the area around it, and then the water will kind of flow through. And so I use my brush to basically kind of direct where the water is going, but not to mix it. I kind of allow the paint and the water to kind of do its thing. Now, keep in mind that most mixed media backgrounds really look like a hot mess before you start layering things on top of them. And the other thing to keep in mind is generally you need a lot more mixed media on your background than you might think, because most of it gets covered up. And if you don't, extend it far enough, you're going to create this pretty background, and it's going to get lost when you add your photo and your embellishments on top of it. So you need to make sure that you've added enough, or that it extends far enough so that it can be seen, because you don't want to go through all of this effort and then have nothing to show for it. So, and if it looks like a hot mess, it's okay. I promise. The key thing is to make sure that you don't add colors that don't work together. So you don't want to use anything with orange or red with a green. You don't want to try and mix those together. You don't want to try and mix together purple and green or purple and yellow, because you're going to end up with mud. So if you make sure that the colors that you're using can blend together, then you're going to end up with something that you'll be happy with. And you can add green on top of this. You just need to make sure that the other colors are dry before you do it. So I've added some yellow here, and I'm allowing this yellow. I believe that one of them is an Inklings and one of them is a Shimmers. And the Inklings needs to add water, have water added to it, and the Shimmers comes in paint form and just needs to be stirred. But both of those have shimmer to them. And once this dries, you'll be able to see that. But when it's wet, you can't. So I'm just moving this around, and once it's done, you can turn your paper, around and decide which orientation you want to use it, because the way that you think you might want to use it, it might be totally different. Or you might like it if it's, rather than, let's say your idea is that you're going to have the yellow on top and the pink on the bottom, but then you decide, oh, well, I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and you've got pink on the left and yellow on the right, or what have you. So if you look, you'll see how the colors and your embellishments will stand out with the color in the center too. So the solid color or the blended color in the center, it will give you the same effect as the white, or a similar effect as the white gesso would. And I'll do a finished project with this and share it in our Facebook group. And I'll share photos of the dried backgrounds in our Facebook group as well. So make sure that you join our Facebook group. So, but this one, you can kind of see the shimmer when I turn the paper. But look how pretty it looks when you layer that background dye over the top of it. And then that is the Catherine Puller ink and the stamp. And we've got these, this month we also came out with some floral dyes with some leaves. And you could use those on either one of these backgrounds and die cut the leaves and the flowers and piece them together. And our fourth die for this month is this ViewMaster film die. And I love how this turned out. We've also got a cut file that's coming out later in this week that will coordinate with that. It's the viewfinder camera. So I'm just going to blot up some of this extra ink and let this dry.
Voila, friends. Let's see. Forgive my technical. Yeah, we're almost at 2 hours, aren't we? That wasn't my intention, but we did a lot of stuffs. So, let's see. So, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, please go over and do that. You can, I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. I need to update that with the link to our Facebook group. But once you do that, I'll post a bunch of pictures from our live of photos of what we did and what kind of the end result ended up looking like. So make sure you head over there. And then also too, photos of what we did. Leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know every time we upload a new video. The other thing too is yeah, so do those things. And one more thing, head over to our website if you have any questions or want more details about our kits or our dyes or whatever. Head over to our website at www.hipkitclub.net, and all of the details about all of our March kits and the previous kits and everything like that is listed on our website. The other thing too, a couple things about subscribing is that, or are that, you receive your main kit automatically each month at a discount price. To purchase individual kits, the purchase price is $34.95. If you're a subscriber, you receive it for $29.95. Also, you receive 15% off on all of your add-on kit purchases, and that means like color kits, pattern paper add-on kits, cardstock kits, dyes, color kits, you name it, stamps, pocket life kit, pocket life stamp set. We have so many kits that we put out every single month. So you have a lot to choose from, and when you take 15% off of like $20, for instance, that's $3. So you know, that's kind of substantial. If you order more than a couple of kits, I know a lot of websites offer free shipping at like $100. Well, I think that if you were to order all of the kits and your discount would be greater than what the shipping cost would be. So, and you're probably right at around $100 with everything, maybe a little bit more, but with all of your discounts and everything. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing too is that we put out cut files every month, and our subscribers receive access to all of our cut files each month. Generally, there's about six to eight of them. So you can download those for free. We also offer them. You can be, if you're not a subscriber and you are interested in our cut files, I think you can purchase them for $2 a piece. So if you think about that in the grand scheme of things, and you want to, you know, if you were to purchase just the 8 cut files, they're $16. So you're getting $16 with your subscription if you utilize our cut files, which is a great deal. The other thing too, if you aren't a subscriber and you're kind of on the fence about it, we also do one freebie cut file a month that is available to anyone. You just have to register on our website. So once you do that, you can access our free cut files. And like I said, there's one new one every single month. And I think that's everything. Access our free cut files. So before I sign off, leave a comment below if you like this format of video in just kind of playing with different products and showing you how they can be used, or if you would prefer a completed project, or if there's something in particular that you would like to learn about or have me show you how to use it, or different techniques or whatever. Leave a comment below, and I'm happy to do it. So I'm just thankful that you joined me. And I hope that you're inspired to make something pretty today, Treat yourself to a little creative therapy. It's good for the soul. So with that said, I'm going to sign off for this week, and I will see you next week on our next Sunday Fun Day Live. Bye. Creative therapy. Just good for the soul. And here I go, trying to figure out how to turn this off. And I will see you next week on our next Sunday Fun Day Live.